we have 90 some people on this call, and we are, I think, all at very different stages in our continuous improvement journey. So some of you may be familiar with this tool. Some of you may not be familiar with this tool. Some may have heard of it, but really not dabbled with it. But just encourage you to think about, from where you're at, your space, kind of a beginner's mind. If you're already using the tool, maybe how you can improve how the use of the tool is going in your organization. If you're not using it, maybe you could try it, those types of things. So just wanted to put that out there. Okay. All right. So first say, oops, my slides are not advancing on both slides. There we go. All right. So my objectives today for you are to share a tool that can help you with engaging leaders in lean, and then share some of the lessons learned, very few lessons learned at our agency, because I really want to further enhance the use of this tool in our own organization. So share a little bit what's going on there. I always start with every presentation, more for myself, kind of why lean in our culture. And the passion that I have around what I do, the work that I do. So making sure that really people understand, what is this continuous improvement culture or lean culture, and why are we doing it? Why is it important? So just like to put that out there, that making sure that we're valuing our employees, that we are engaging them in process improvement, that we're engaging our customers, we're making state government a better place to work, key there, and also making building trust in state government, right? So just want to start with the why around that. So before we jump into the tool, I think it's really important for us, first of all, to understand what a leader's role is in a continuous improvement or lean culture. And I have them on the screen here, so I'm not going to go through all of them, but just making sure that it's really, really, really super clear to them what their role is, because sometimes they don't know. Right. So before you hand them a tool to use, making sure that they really understand what their role is and actually provide them that knowledge, to have them understand that, they are really, really key in actively championing the culture that you're trying to create, using those tools and adopting the thinking that you're trying to, kind of disperse out into the organization. Being coaches and mentors, engaging, right? Really engaging with employees and getting their feedback. So you can all see these on screen, so I won't go through anymore, but just really, really important, that knowledge around kind of what is my role. So far to date, my role has been to lead, right? But what does that mean in a lean culture or a continuous improvement culture? Okay, and please do, if you have questions throughout the presentation, just go ahead and pop right in here. Okay, so the tool that I'm going to be sharing is the Leader Standard Work Tool. It really helps us further integrate lean into the culture as it relates to the behaviors and things that leaders really need to display. And when I say leaders, I mean all leaders. They don't have to be a supervisor or manager. They don't necessarily have to be an executive, but people that are leading in the organization, the behaviors that they should be displaying as they are really engaging and championing the culture that you're trying to create. So here are some of the examples. I think I skipped a slide. Hold on a second. No, I did not. Okay. Here are some examples of leader standard work, and I'd love for you all to engage here. So what are some of the what are some of the behaviors or the things that you would expect a leader to do, or the behavior to exhibit in a lean culture or a continuous improvement culture? Go ahead and just pop in your chats. And I cannot see the chats on my end. Oh, here we go. Yes, I can, but I need to move them over here. Okay. What are some of the things you would expect? I'm trying to make this bigger. Okay. Transparency, recognition, inclusivity, recognition for learning. Yeah. Sponsorship of lean values, developing staff, team building activities, use of the humble inquiry. I love that one. Spending time themselves on learning, communication, looking at measurement, right? So seeing how the data, what the data says. Open to ideas and suggestions, right? Really engaging those minds of employees. creating psychological safety. Yep. Leader development, providing some coaching. Yeah, you all have it pretty well nailed down. Yeah. So all of these different things, right? And I have some examples of leader standard work on my screen here. So really engaging in huddles, whatever the huddle looks like for that leader. Could be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, once a week, twice a week, those types of things, but really engaging with employees on a regular basis, understanding the processes that they have within their purview, right? That they are problem solvers themselves, and also helping, understanding to and helping employees with problem solving. So the example there, here at Revenue, we thought we're going to start teaching coaching, problem solving, and then we realized, oh my gosh, we can't start teaching problem solving until the leaders actually start using the tools themselves, right? So learning the problem solving, trying it, and then actually coaching employees with problem solving. Celebrating learning. I think somebody put in here, let's see, what was the word we used here? Creating safety, right? So celebrating learning when things don't work, celebrating that learning, right? So what didn't work, celebrating the fact that you tried it and then trying something new, and then also celebrating success. So I like to connect almost everything we do with some form of strategy, right? It's really understanding the current state. So in this example, we want to have problem solving really kind of embedded in the organization, throughout the organization. No matter what you call it, you might call it lean, you might call it continuous improvement, etc. But really, having it embedded in the organization and having that problem solving really incorporating some kind of action planning, because oftentimes some of the things that when things don't work right, we might lack some action planning, right? So all this great planning up in advance as far as like, what do we want to do, but the actual follow through, right? Incorporating the why, the what, the why, what's in it for them, what's in it for the agency, incorporating that into the messaging. And for us here at Revenue, we really incorporate most of this into our lean leadership course. Okay, so we have a 1-day course, which includes this tool that I'm going to be sharing with you today, which is the Leader Standard Work Tool. Okay, all right, let me just pause here. Any questions or thoughts at this point? How many of you are actually using Leader Standard Work in your organization? Go ahead and just pop your hands up. I'd love to see that. Anyone? Let's see, not seeing. I don't know, Teresa, if you're seeing hands on your end or not.
Not yet. Not yet.
I do see a thumbs up.
Okay. All right. All right. Good deal. So this might be a tool that you can all kind of tinker with a little bit. All right. So the template that I'm going to be sharing with you is a template that actually originally came from, well, I don't know where it originally came from, but we brought it to Revenue from Department of Licensing. So licensing had this tool and we adopted it as well. Made some changes, made it more, for us, right? So it's a tool that's really basic. All right, so it's a template that, and you all have it. I think you got it in advance. If you downloaded it, right, Teresa, they had to download the PowerPoint and the tool.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll link it in the chat for you.
Great, thank you so much. So, so it's really kind of, I'm gonna walk you through it. Identifying what they want, how they can get it, making a plan to get it, tracking actions, and then monitoring those results. Which is very, very similar to problem solving, right? I don't know how many of you are like seeing those kind of almost same steps, right? What do we want? Go get it, make a plan, track the actions, and then monitor those results. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the template here. I think I can just move this over here. And it looks like let me just share a different screen here real quick. I don't know how many of you use Zoom very often, but I do not. So I'm going to share a different screen.
We did see it when you had it up a second ago, Cyndee.
Did you?
Mhm.
Okay. Well, I'm going to share it on the screen that I'm actually looking at so I can see it better myself too. All right. Can you all see the?
Not yet. I still see the leader standard work template slide.
Hang on one second here. Stop sharing and I'm going to reshare. There, you're all going to see yourself. There we go. How about that?
Yeah, looks great.
Okay. All right. So I do have it on a smaller screen. But again, this is a very basic tool, right? So I'm hoping you all can and think about how you can use this, right? So right out of the gate, we have kind of what is the tool. And again, we provide this in our lean leadership course. And at the very end of the course, have them actually walk through this and figure out, okay, now what do they want to do for their standard work? So sharing kind of what it is, right? And then they have a little box here that has kind of identify what they want to do. So based on what they learned in that course, which is all about lean leadership, what are some of the things that they could try? And then of course have the leader role on the right hand side so that it's really easy to like, oh yeah, that's what my role is, right? So in this example, they want to create more opportunities for employees to collaborate and problem solve. So pretty basic, right? That's what they want. The second step here is just identifying, okay, what can I do to get it, right? What specific things can I do to make sure that happens? If they had stopped here and just said, this is what I want, follow through probably wouldn't have happened, right? So the examples here are build some trust and they did put in here by how, right? Spending more time with them. Creating that space for employees to talk about problems, developing their own coaching skills, celebrating some learning. So when things didn't work and actually highlighting that, so it creates that psychological safety, right? So these are the things that this particular leader decided they wanted to try. Okay, and there's some little reminders here on the right hand side. So at our agency, we have, kind of the top 5 ways that employees feel engaged, right? So we put that on there for our leaders to remember. Okay, and then moving down onto the next side. So flipping this over. Sorry, I'm making you dizzy here for a minute. All right. So now what's the plan, right? So making a plan. What do I need to do by when to make sure I implement? So again, real basic, but they're very simple tools that can help with follow through. So this particular example that we're following, they wanted to take 10 minutes to walk through their team's area and just talk with employees, right? So just checking in. They want to start doing that by September 5th. They have a status column, so a basic action plan, right? And then what notes, might help them. So in this example, they wanted to avoid the lunch hour. Because people are at lunch and didn't want to interfere with their lunchtime. So that's one thing they wanted to do. Another thing is take time during the one-on-one meetings to actually talk to employees about challenges, encourage them to apply the 9-step problem solving method in their work with the challenges that they're having. Again, they have a start date. You can see here that they hadn't started, but they wanted to, in order to do that, they wanted to actually make sure that they provide employees that information around the 9-step problem solving. So provide them with a handout. So those were the 2 things this particular leader decided they were going to work on. And here's kind of a who's going to do what by when, a blank sheet, real basic action plan. We put on the right-hand side some of these change management elements, right? So, having them share with employees, for example, what are they doing, right? Well, what if all of a sudden your leader you're not used to seeing them and they start like popping around, talking to people? It'd be great for them to understand, employees to understand kind of what's going on here. So, share with them, what they're doing, why they're doing it, right? And the knowledge part, we talked a little bit about, this tool up here, right, that they would be sharing. So we're just encouraging our leaders to actually think about those change management elements with any change, whether it be their part of their, a process improvement or something they're doing different with their own leadership, just remembering the importance of that. Going down a little bit further, tracking actions, right? So this particular example, they're going to do team walks. They're going to have the one-on-one meetings to dedicate to challenges, and then they're going to be doing recognition. So in this particular week, how often did they actually do that? So that they did it twice, right? For team walks. During the one-on-one meetings, actually dedicating to talking about problem solving, they did it 5 times, right? So that's week 1. And then week 2, you can see a little bit better on all of them, right? So likely because they tracked week 1 that they did better on week 2, right? So again, very basic, but super powerful. And then lastly, the monitoring results. So having them identify, what they're going to do to reflect on and monitor how they're doing, right? So in this example, they are checking in, they can check in with the peer, share their reflections, how it worked, right? Look at their results. Again, very, very basic tool, but really powerful. Gosh, back in 2013, I think it was the first Greenbelt class we did here at Department of Revenue. One of our leaders decided they were going to do leader standard work, and hers was really basic. She put on a big, huge whiteboard, the 5 different things that she wanted to do. And one of them was recognition. Another one was Gimbal walks. I'm trying to remember. It was quite some time ago. It's 10 years ago. Anyway, but she would just do little tick marks on her whiteboard every week, and then erase it and then come back, right? It was a big, huge whiteboard so she could see it in her office. And there's different ways to do that also, remotely as well, right? There's different tools you can use. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing this. So that's the tool. Let me just stop here and see if there are any questions, comments, thoughts that you have. Yeah, looking at chat here. Is it something you might want to try yourself? A quiet
Oh,
group.
yes. It looks like Morgan with DVA has her hand up. Nice to see you.
Hey, Morgan.
Hello. Yeah, I really like this tool. One of the things that has really helped me reflect as a leader is kind of those really important behaviors that I can practice. So I did come from revenue, and that leader's example of the whiteboards always stood out in my mind. So I actually mirror that same habit. And the things that are on there are like, going to connect with staff. So doing a walkabout. I also have a piece on recognition. And then the third thing that I really hold myself accountable is for that professional development of confronting situations. So I know for me personally, that can be a struggle. And there isn't always something to confront every week, but it's that habit of asking myself, am I avoiding something? Or do I need a little more data on that? And so I found that really helpful to sustain that practice of asking myself that question and really building a habit around that professional development of not just, pushing stuff aside or saying it's going to be okay, but really kind of confronting those things that I need to. So thank you.
You're welcome. And actually Morgan is the one that grabbed a hold of licensing's example and adopted it here at Revenue. So Morgan, thank you for that. And thank you for your example. And I'm glad you're using it at WDVA. Awesome. All right. So we did have a note here. Do you have an example of similar experience with teams which work from home or both in office and hybrid? I don't have a specific example other than I can tell you that, this is a tool for a leader to use, right? You can actually, I sort of do. I'm going to kind of morph this a little bit. We have a group that actually gets together. Actually, it's 2 people, and they do their huddles, and they use a tool to basically show what's happening. And it's a little bit different in that it's not the leader standard work tool, but it's something if they wanted to share it with others, they could. But again, this is a tool specifically for a leader to help really, hold themselves accountable, and select what they want to adjust in their own leadership skills. So I think it would work remotely or not. You can do, for example, Gimbal walks. You could actually do via phone or Teams, like popping in, checking on people. Of course, you want to let them know what you're doing, so they would, they might wonder, why are you monitoring me? But that's not the case, right? They might just be doing check-ins. Anybody else have any examples that might work for remote or hybrid, where people are using leader standard work? And is there anybody out there that's, whoops, I can't tell which screen I'm sharing at this point.
We are still seeing just the worksheet.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, I like the tool, like how simple it is. It is super simple. Just wondering how to keep the leaders engaged in using the tool to assist with the progress. Yeah, Kim, some of my lessons learned that I'm going to talk about in a minute this is one that is really, we give them the tool and they use it or they don't, right? So assisting with progress, I think, checking in, those types of things would be helpful. But again, it's kind of a, if you want to use it, you can, kind of a tool, right? I liked the example that I gave that was, on a whiteboard, but again, that leader decided how to use that tool, how she wanted to go about using it. Alyssa, yes, this must be working because Morgan is an amazing leader. She is an amazing leader, absolutely. But I would say I'm going to pull my screen back up here. Let me share this other screen really quick. And oops, darn it. Sorry, y'all. I think I get Zoom figured out, but I use it like twice a year.
And it's always for results, huh?
It is, and that's okay. I'm just not sure why. Let me show from current screen. I just flipped. Okay. All right. What are you seeing right now, Talia?
Lessons learned.
That's
And-
what I want you to see. Awesome. Yeah. So what I would say here, Alyssa, is this is a tool that I really, really like. It's a tool that I would love to see used a lot more. It's usually at the end of our Lean Leader course, so it gets probably the least focus. So what I want to do at Revenue is I want to spend more time on the tool in the actual course and have them spend a little bit more time sharing with others and planning for their own leader standard work. And then I want to start sharing some examples, some practical examples of peers using it, which is a way of reinforcing, the value of it, right? So that is my goal here at Revenue, is to really start teaching it a little bit, really spending a little bit more time on it and actually elevating it. Because right now I'm not really sure how many leaders are using it. I mean, the example I gave earlier was a very visual one that you could walk by and you're like, oh, yay, she's using it. But yeah, that would be one of the lessons learned, I'd say, that I would take away from this, is like, how do you want to support leaders in using it? We want to give them the tool and say, here you go, use it if you'd like. Do you want to do a check-in with them, a week or two later, or maybe a month later to see how it's going? There's different ways you can do that, right? Okay, did that answer your question? Or that, actually that was, I'm sorry, that wasn't Alyssa, that was Kim. Yeah, Kim, did that answer your question? Yes, that did. Okay. All right. What other questions do you have?
Cyndee, while we're waiting for some questions, one thing I think you might have actually covered this during the conference, but just in case folks weren't there. So if lean leadership isn't implemented in an agency, what are your advice or suggestions you would give on how someone could bring this to their leadership for implementation, or work towards implementing this in their organization?
Yeah, I'd say, if you have an organization that, you're, there's some work to be done on the leadership level. Specific to this tool, I always encourage, getting kind of the willing and able engaged, right? Those that want it. So sharing it, getting it out there, talking about what's in it for them, helping them understand that with them, right? What's in it for them to actually engage in lean leadership or lean in general, right? All of the value that they get out of that, that customers get. So it's that selling, that selling point, right? And in order to sell it, you have to really truly believe it in it yourself, right? So I always encourage people that are doing this work, if you love it, share that love of it, right? Share the love of the work. If you don't, do something different, right? But getting out there and really, they'll buy it if they see it, right? If they really understand what's in it for them. And, I walked through some of those things, the why, right here, right? So having employees really feel valued and want to come to work in the morning, really getting them to, use their skills, which then in turn actually helps leaders have a little more free time and not have to work so hard. They don't have to make all the decisions, right? And creating that value for customers. So I would say, yeah, get out there and sell it, and go to the willing and able. You're going to have resistors, and that's okay. There's usually reasons why they're resisting, right? So if they see their peers and what they're getting out of it, they might come on board later. Does that answer your question, Teresa, or did I cover it
Yeah.
adequately?
No, absolutely. Yes. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
Patty. Oh, did you have another one? Sorry about that.
Nope. I was going to read the chat, but you're on it. You're on it.
Yeah. And how are we marketing this training? So yes, let me finish reading this. So Patty's asking, is it something leaders sign up for? Doing some outreach. Yeah, so this is a lean leadership is a course that we have 4 times a year at least. Kind of standard. Go ahead and just sign up for it. We also do lean leadership at their request, like certain divisions. We have 2 divisions that asked us to come and do specific training for their division. So for their leaders in their division. So they did it as a group. So I think we had 5 this last year. We have 1 in January. So we have the lean leadership course, and this is part of that lean leadership course at the end of the day. So we do outreach we have it out on our intranet, so all of our courses are on our intranet. We put some information in we call it revenues, right? So it's basically our newsletter, but it goes out to all employees, our agency newsletter. And of course, when we're meeting with assistant directors on a quarterly basis, when we're doing our check-ins with them, we definitely encourage and highlight our trainings, and also provide them with their saturation numbers, right? So for their division, what kind of saturation do they have for, the courses that we have, and lean leadership is one of them. And leaders encourage leaders under them to take the training. Yeah, we have seen a correlation between, like assistant directors and program managers, which are kind of like their deputies, their second in command. Command is not the right word, but they're seconds. We've seen a correlation between, leaders taking courses and their employees taking it. So for sure. Did that answer your question, Patty? Okay. And
yeah, thank you, Cyndee. Yes. So since I unmuted, I'll just ask another question. You have a tiny bit in there about change management. Do you have a whole separate curriculum for leaders on change management, or do you roll them together?
For the lean leadership course, we have a piece on change management in there. Because that is really important. If they're planning to make any kind of change, including their own leadership, what they're doing with their own leadership, having employees and people around them understand what they're doing. We have a little tiny dip training on change management that is separate from the lean leadership course, but we don't have a change management program here at Department of Revenue. So we just make sure that we fold it into, whenever we can, everything that we're doing, right? So trying to organically fold it in. Does that help?
Great. Yeah, thank you, Cyndee.
You're welcome. All right. Okay. Oh, here we go. Perla, you said she's an employee at our agency. She went through the training and highly recommend the tool. Awesome. So that tells me you're using it, which is good. Thank you so much for that. All right. Any other thoughts or questions?
if there's no other questions, since we have a few more minutes, I just wanted to see, could you go back to another one of your visual slides that, because earlier you had asked if anyone uses these tools. So did you have a slide with like a list of some of the tools or something? So I feel like if folks saw it again
I
in
had
your
a-
presentation, they might.
Yeah, Talia, I think you're talking about the list of the leadership roles. Is that what you're?
Maybe that is it.
Let me share
Yeah,
that.
I
Let
was
me share
curious
that.
too, because you asked the question, who uses it? And I also have that curiosity, and I know we've got such an awesome community. I bet there's a lot of things that are used on that list.
Okay, I think we are over on the screen now. Now you're seeing my calendar, which is not good.
If
We're
it's giving you trouble, you don't got to worry about it.
yeah, I just need to get used to
I'm with you on it. I'm the
okay,
same.
let me just stop sharing. I think what you're referring to actually was not the tool, it was the leader's role.
Oh, okay.
Is that something you want to see?
No. It's just a question
No?
you asked earlier. You said, hey, does anyone out there on the call use any of this? And we had one thumbs up, but I feel like if folks would have seen the list again, they might have been able to
Yeah.
relate.
It wasn't a tool, Talia, it was the role of the leader. But what I was asking was, those that are actually using leader standard work, because I wanted to kind of gauge the audience of, who was using that tool. And they may not,
Yeah.
they may not have known at the time, but actually I should ask the question again. Now that I've shared the tool, some people may call it something different.
Right.
Is there anyone out there that's using leader standard work in your organization?
Yeah, and for anybody that wants to talk a little more about it or maybe get more clarification, feel free to come off mute.
Okay, well, I will just put out there, if you feel like you want to chat about this after today, feel free to give me a call. I'm in Outlook, and I would love to process with you a little bit if you're kind of pondering the idea of integrating this tool, or if you have ideas on how we can make it better here at our agency and used more. I'd love to hear that too, what you're all doing out there. All right. Well, thank you all so much for your time.